minute, please. And then we'll start our program. Minute, please. And then we'll start. Okay, Hare Krishna. Welcome, dear devotees. Now, many devotees will be joining us as we start the program. So today we have a special guest today, and our special guest is His Grace Radhikatma Prabhu. Radhikatma Prabhu, as I've already mentioned to all of you on our message introducing him, he's been practicing Bhakti Yoga and Krishna consciousness for 35 plus years, 40 years plus. And he has been in important position in ISKCON in Auckland, New Zealand, and in the management position. And he's a wonderful cook as well. He's inspired many devotees by his cooking, along with his knowledge of Prabhupada's literature. He has a specialty, Radhikatma Prabhu. His specialty is that he emphasizes on the importance of studying of Srila Prabhupada's books. And when I requested him to speak on a subject, it was very easy for us what subject he would like to speak on, So without further delay, I would request Radhikatma Prabhu to speak. The class will go on till about 5:50, and then there'll be question answers. And then after that, depending upon the length of it, we'll take the next session, which will be by myself. Okay, Radhikatma Prabhu, please, the floor is all yours. Hare Krishna, Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Prabhupada. Thank you, Amrish Prabhu. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prashadine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatharine Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhavya Vichapatitanam Bhavanevya Vaishnavevya Namo Namaha. Thank you all very much for having me today. I'm very happy to be in your association and to share some thoughts and realizations that I have in regards to Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's books and Srila Prabhupada's movement. I very much appreciate Amrish Prabhu's also the mood of understanding and studying Srila Prabhupada's books. So this makes it also even nicer to speak in the association of your good selves. So, what does it mean to study Srila Prabhupada's books? What does it mean to scrutinizingly study Srila Prabhupada's books? We're now in the most amazing month of Kartik, and it's a very joyous month and very auspicious month. And it's a time when devotees all over the world throng the temples and offer lamps to the deities, and you get so many blessings and auspiciousness from doing that. But interestingly, you see from Srila Prabhupada's personal example that when he spent Kartik in Vrindavan in 1972, from the 14th of October 1970, from the 16th of October 1972 to the 14th of November, almost 1 month in Vrindavan. How did Srila Prabhupada celebrate Kartik? Was Prabhupada in the temple every day offering lamps? It's nice, offer lamps, but what was Prabhupada's personal example in celebrating Kartik? Prabhupada's personal example was that he spoke from nectar of devotion for almost 1 whole month. Every day he would speak from nectar of devotion. most of the classes you see from Prabhupada will be on Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And there are a few other classes from Ishopanishad, Nectar of Instruction, and a few on Nectar of Devotion at other times. But this is practically the main time that he actually spoke from Nectar of Devotion. And very interesting classes to go online and read. And so we see Prabhupada's mood. Prabhupada spoke from Rupa Goswami's Nectar of Devotion every day at the Radhanamada temple in front of Rupa Goswami's Samadhi. And this is what he emphasized for his disciples who were present with him in that auspicious time, that auspicious setting. So we see the importance of Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada didn't stress, offer lamps and do auspicious deeds and you get this benefit and get that benefit. Ultimately, Prabhupada actually wrote a letter to Jayapataka Swami one time that these different months like Kartik and Purushottam Mas, these are actually to induce those persons who would not ordinarily perform any devotional service to do something. Do something for Krishna in this particular month and receive this benefit and that benefit and so on. But for devotees, of course, we are not interested in that type of devotional service. Our devotional service, as described by Srila Rupa Goswami, and Prabhupada quotes very often from Nectar of Devotion also, that our Krishna consciousness, our devotional service is without tinge of any desire for any gain, any profit, and without tinge of any impersonalism. And that is actually Rupa Goswami's definition of pure devotional service. So we may not be pure, but we are aspiring for that. So we have to follow very strictly and very carefully in Srila Prabhupada's footsteps. So Srila Prabhupada set the example for us that he himself read Nectar of Devotion every single day for 1 month in Vrindavan Dham during Kartik. And all the disciples would gather in the evenings and hear Nectar of Devotion. In the morning, Prabhupada would speak on Bhagavatam, and in the evening, he would speak on Nectar of Devotion. So it's very clear the importance of Prabhupada's books. Prabhupada explained also that these books are practically the basis of our movement. I mean, if you think about it, what differentiates ISKCON and so many other Vaishnava movements, so many Gaudiya Mats, so many different sampradayas, 4 different sampradayas, what makes ISKCON stand out? ISKCON is completely unique and completely powerful, or has the ability to become very powerful simply because we have Srila Prabhupada's purports. That is what distinguishes us from any other Vaishnava sect, any other Vaishnava group, who are all worshipping Krishna, who may be pure devotees. But what makes ISKCON able to save the conditioned souls in this material world, this Kali Yuga, and to deliver us ourselves, is that we have Srila Prabhupada's books. So we must make use of them. Prabhupada explained that the BBT is my heart. Is my heart. And Prabhupada stressed all the time, where's book, where's book? He would be pushing his printers, his publishers, the devotees in charge, where's book, where's book? Simply because these books are what can save the people in Kali Yuga. These books are what will deliver the devotees of ISKCON. And Prabhupada didn't want us to just distribute these books. He wanted us to read these books as well. So, especially in this day and age, right now, in the current state of affairs of the world and of ISKCON, we need to take shelter of Srila Prabhupada's books. There was a time when I joined up a long time ago, 1983 or so, that devotees were very innocent. And we unflinchingly and unwaveringly accepted the word of our authorities. Sannyasis, gurus, GBCs, temple presidents, everyone. There was no question. We had implicit faith. But since those times, we have seen so many things go wrong. So many things have been messed up by devotees not reading Prabhupada's books. So we have to consider how to protect our devotional service and how to advance our devotional service and how to advance the devotional service of those who may look to us for help, for shelter, for guidance, for inspiration. And we cannot do that unless we take shelter of Srila Prabhupada's purpose. Prabhupada stressed repeatedly that everything must be corroborated by Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Ultimately, all three reside in Srila Prabhupada, Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. We may have so many Diksha Gurus and Shiksha Gurus in ISKCON. There are so many sadhus. But ultimately, we have to look to Srila Prabhupada's example and his words and his writings. And all this reside there in his purpose. So if we are strong in Srila Prabhupada's purpose, if we understand Srila Prabhupada's mood, if we read Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, Shri Ishopanishad, Krishna book, if we read all these books very carefully, then we will have a very clear understanding of Srila Prabhupada's mood, Srila Prabhupada's movement, and what Srila Prabhupada wanted to achieve in this world. And if we hear something strange, if we hear something that does not seem right, then we will have the intelligence, the knowledge to actually protect our own devotional creepers and not be influenced by such things. Unfortunately, this is a reality in our world today, simply because, as far as my understanding, what I've researched and what I have had a look at, devotees in general, including seniors, do not read Prabhupada's books or do not place importance in Prabhupada's books. And we see this simply in the fact that devotees give classes on other books, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, Gopal Champu, so many other books. But how many of us can any one of us, even one of us in the whole of ISKCON, can we say that we have totally realized Srila Prabhupada's books, that we have understood Prabhupada's books completely? Can any of us say that we are off the bodily concept of life? But if we read first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we see that Narada Muni is chastising Srila Vyasadeva. Srila Vyasadeva, the literary incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is being chastised by his spiritual master Narada Muni after having completed the writing of the putting down in writing of the Vedas. And Narada Muni is saying to Vyasadeva, are you now satisfied having identified with the body and the mind? So here Srila Vyasadeva, he's taken the unwritten Veda and put it on paper for the people of Kali Yuga. And for that, he's being chastised by his spiritual master. Are you now satisfied having identified with the body and the mind? So Srila Vyasadeva, having not yet compiled Srimad Bhagavatam and directly glorified the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is being chastised by his spiritual master for identifying with the body and the mind. And what is our position? So we need to take complete shelter of Srila Prabhupada's purpose. We need to do this for the sake of our spiritual lives. And if we have that spirit of pushing on Prabhupada's movement in the same mood of Srila Prabhupada and so many other devotees in Prabhupada's line, then we need to be familiar with Prabhupada's purpose. We need to understand. We need to take shelter. We need to read. We need to encourage others to read. So the problem we have, one of the problems, the underlying problem of reading Srila Prabhupada's books in ISKCON today is that Srila Prabhupada's books are, quite frankly, not available to everybody. You may think, oh, what is Radhikatma talking about? Books are available everywhere. But the books we generally see in temples and in book tables and so on, these books have been changed so much to the point that are they Srila Prabhupada's books? For example, Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita as it is, as written by Srila Prabhupada, as lectured from by Srila Prabhupada, as read personally by Prabhupada, as distributed personally by Srila Prabhupada, practically does not exist in most temples around the world today, including our own temple here in Auckland. The books that you see now, the Bhagavad Gita that you see now with the orange cover and the blue cover and the brown cover, these books have close to 5,000 changes in them. So you can say, it's still Bhagavad Gita as it is, got Prabhupada's name on it, we can read it. Yes, you can read it. Go ahead and read it. But are you getting 100% association with Srila Prabhupada? Are you actually absorbing his Vani? With 5,000 changes? And if that's the case, then how do you protect your devotional people? And how do you advance in Krishna consciousness? And how do you understand Prabhupada's mood? And how do you help your fellow devotees advance in Krishna consciousness? This is the original Bhagavad Gita. If your Bhagavad Gita does not have this red cover, and you do not have an original Bhagavad Gita, your Bhagavad Gita will have close to 5,000 changes in that book. So it's very important that we be chaste to Srila Prabhupada. In ISKCON, when we hear this word chaste, we generally think that, we're talking about, the position of women and wives have to be chaste and this and that. But actually, chastity is for all of us. And we have to be chaste to Srila Prabhupada. You can read so many other books. Yeah, they're all talking about Krishna, they're talking about, Bhagavan, talking about so many things. You can be, but by reading these books, are you being chaste to Prabhupada? Just like, for example, in Vrindavan, Prabhupada would hear a certain type of chanting. The locals were chanting a mantra, and it was picked up also by some devotees. And this mantra was Nitai Gaur, Radhe Sham, Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. And Prabhupada explained to the devotees that this is not bona fide. What's the problem? You got Nitai Gaur, you got Radhe Sham, and you got Hare Krishna, Hare Ram. What's the problem? And Prabhupada said, actually, there's no problem. These are all bona fide names, bona fide words in Sampradaya. Nitai Gaur, we all know. Radhe Sham, we all know. Even in Vrindavan, our temple, we have Radhe Sham. And Hare Krishna, Hare Ram, we're chanting Hare Krishna every single day. So what's the problem? And Prabhupada said that this is not authorized. This is not in our parampara. This is not given to us by our acharyas. So although these words are fine, these names are fine, this mantra, technically, it's fine to chant, but by chanting it, we are not being chaste to our parampara. We are not being chaste to our acharyas. So in the same way, there are so many books we can read about Krishna and about Krishna consciousness and spiritual life and the practice of spiritual life. But we have to consider, by reading these books, are we being chaste? Are we being chaste to Srila Prabhupada? We have to remember that Srila Prabhupada put everything into these books for us. Everything. One time, one devotee, some of the GBCs said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, why don't you just go to Hawaii and retire in Hawaii? It's very nice and peaceful, and you can just translate very fast there. Nobody will disturb you in Hawaii. It's very nice and peaceful and beautiful. And Prabhupada said that, I can translate very fast, but I have to consider how to put it so that the common man can understand. So Prabhupada put a lot of thought, a lot of energy, effort, a lot of love, a lot of concern for the conditioned soul into his purpose. Therefore, it becomes a shame when we don't take advantage, or we want to take advantage, but we don't have access to these books because the books have been changed so much. So if we somehow or other have this desire to read Prabhupada's books, we first of all must go and seek out Prabhupada's books. We have to find out the bona fide editions of Prabhupada's books. Unfortunately, we live in Kali Yuga, so many things happen in Kali Yuga. And we can understand that the only shelter that the conditioned souls in Kali Yuga have before the huge onslaught of Kali Yuga really takes place is this ISKCON movement. So the material energy doing her job will try as much as possible to prevent the efficacy of this movement. And Srila Prabhupada explained that there's only one thing that can stop this movement, and that is from within this movement. And the books, Srila Prabhupada's books, are the basis of this movement. So if that foundation, that basis is eroded, then what will happen to the movement? We see so many Hindu things cropping up in our movement. Just recently, what was it, 2 weeks ago? Navratri. Navratri was being celebrated in our own temple. Not by our devotees, but we rented out our temple hall, to a whole bunch of materialistic people worshipping Durga in our temple with loud music until 10, 11 o'clock at night, so that the resident devotees couldn't even sleep. Now, I'm not simply trying to find fault here, but I'm explaining that this is what happens when we leave the shelter of Srila Prabhupada's books. And hardly anyone will speak up about these things because we do not have the courage or the intelligence to do so, because we don't take shelter of Prabhupada's books. To use our Krishna-given intelligence, we need to finely sharpen that intelligence. It's like everybody has intelligence. It's like everybody has a kitchen knife at home. But is that knife really sharp? I mean, a good way to test the sharpness of your knife is go into the kitchen and get a tomato. Tomato is a very soft fruit. You try and cut that tomato with your knife. A blunt knife cannot cut the soft tomato. You won't be able to cut your soft tomato. You have to, really work at it to cut this tomato. If your knife is nice and sharp, it'll go through just like butter. So we have to very finely sharpen our intelligence, very finely. Otherwise, these things will happen in front of our eyes, and we will think that this is Krishna consciousness. We will think this is Krishna consciousness. We will think it is okay for a bunch of Hindus to worship Durga in our temple. But if we read Prabhupada, we understand this is not okay. we cannot simply depend upon other people, other devotees, to tell us what is Krishna consciousness. Our Krishna consciousness does not depend on someone else telling us what is Krishna consciousness. Our Krishna consciousness depends on how much we have assimilated and understood and practiced Srila Prabhupada's purpose. That is the foundation of our spiritual lives. And if you do not have this foundation, your Krishna consciousness will erode. And the most frightening thing is, you will not even realize that it is being eroded. Unless you are fortunate enough to pick up one of Prabhupada's books, or you are fortunate enough to have an amazing devotee friend who will come and tell you, Prabhu, Mataji, please be careful. You're falling into a pit. But then also, if we don't take shelter of Prabhupada's books, if we don't finally tune our intelligence with Prabhupada's books, even we have that amazing, well-meaning friend who may come and speak to us, will we have the humility and the intelligence to take shelter of that person, take advantage of the knowledge being given to us by that person? Everything in our Krishna consciousness resides in Prabhupada's books. We have to take advantage. If somehow you don't have one of these Bhagavad Gitas, you can let Amrish Prabhu know, I can get them for you. In the same way, this is the original Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is actually a very wonderful time because this Chaitanya Charitamrita, if all of you have read Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, you will know the amazing pastime of this Chaitanya Charitamrita, how Srila Prabhupada demanded that the devotees print all 17 volumes in 2 months, which is a monumental task, considering they were printing basically 2 books every 12 months or something like that. So they did 17 books in 2 months. And Prabhupada, he took time off from his Bhagavatam translation to give us Chaitanya Charitamrita. But now, unfortunately, we are reading Chaitanya Bhagavat. BBT is published Chaitanya Bhagavat, or somebody has published Chaitanya Bhagavat, but being sold by devotees all over the world. And devotees are reading Chaitanya Bhagavat. But how can we read Chaitanya Bhagavat and Prabhupada gave us Chaitanya Charitamrita? Again, it's a question of being chaste. Chaitanya Bhagavat is wonderful, written by Vrindavan Das Thakur, all about the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Srila Prabhupada chose to give us Chaitanya Charitamrita. Have we read Chaitanya Charitamrita? Even if we've read Chaitanya Charitamrita, even once, twice, thrice, have we understood Chaitanya Charitamrita? So deep. The pastimes in Chaitanya Charitamrita are so deep. Can we say we understood? This is what the original first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam looks like. First canto, volume 1. But if you will see the latest one, they've removed this cover personally designed by Srila Prabhupada and replaced with Radhikatma. How is that being chaste to Prabhupada? How can you put Radhikatma on the first canto cover? First canto Prabhupada titled Creation. And this is the cover that he designed. So why I'm saying all these things is that my realization, especially over the last 4 or 5 years, is that unless we take shelter of Srila Prabhupada's books, unless we scrutinizingly study Srila Prabhupada's books and understand Prabhupada's mood, the mood of practicing Krishna consciousness, our Krishna consciousness will not be on firm ground. We may not even realize it. And if we are not on firm ground, if the foundation of our Krishna consciousness is not strong, then how can we possibly help anybody else? basically will be bringing people to Hinduism. And although all of us here may be Indians, we are not Hindus. We are Prabhupada Nugas. We are followers of Srila Prabhupada. We are Vaishnavas following directly in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada. So we do not want to be preaching Hinduism. We do not want to encourage Hinduism. We do not want to bring anyone to Hinduism. But we want to somehow or other help, first of all, the devotees and then the general public to understand Krishna consciousness and to preach Krishna consciousness and become strong in Krishna consciousness. The only way to do this is to get hold of Srila Prabhupada's original books and read them. Like I said, if you don't have any of these original books, you can tell Amrish Prabhu know, and he can let me know, and I can get them for you. This next week actually is very wonderful because we are finally getting original Nectar of Devotions, which haven't been around for a long, long time.
Hare Bol, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. So please take advantage. Please take advantage. And in this way, we can push on Prabhupada's books. If you can get the original books, then you can study the original books. Otherwise, to talk about scrutinizingly studying Prabhupada's books, what do you have to study? If you do not have Prabhupada's original books, what is that to scrutinizingly study? When you get a hold of Prabhupada's original books, then you can study them. Take each word, each sentence, so much meaning, so full of nectar, can save you from committing so many mistakes in your own Krishna consciousness. Save me, practically save me. I went through so much trouble, so much hell, and honestly, taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada's books saved me from a great deal of pain and made me understand the importance of taking shelter of Prabhupada's books, even if you don't have anything else in your life. If you have Prabhupada's books, if you have Prabhupada's purports, then you can take advantage, and this will be beneficial to you, to your family, and to everyone around you. So I'll stop there. Just a short class regarding the importance. I hope it was interesting and beneficial to your good selves. If there's anything I can do to help, please let me know. Or if you have any questions now.
First of all, please accept my humble obeisances, Prabhuji. This is once again Aviram Nitai Gaura Das, your god brother.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol, how are you, Prabhu?
Good, Prabhu.
Okay. So, Prabhu, after hearing your lecture, what I believe and what your lecture says today, there are a lot of innocent people are there in the movement, but at the same time, there are a lot of not decent people are there in this movement. I do also believe, because I've been there with you in this ISKCON Auckland also and saying the things. And in regards of the Navaratri also, what is the thing going on? So, Prabhu, I hear that a lot of people, even when I had a word with few days before with Mahanishinga Prabhu, from Wellington, he was also chasing with the same thing, and he's saying the same thing, that the books had been changed and a lot of things. So do you think this is also one kind of a sinful activities when people are removing or extracting the proper actual purport and deliberating something on the way of earning the money or for their own benefits? I know there are a lot of indecent people, even you do also know there. I don't want to take their name, but even if I take their name, I don't have any fear to say. But still, do you think is it a kind of a most sinful activities, one of the biggest sinful activities, to change the version of the Srila Prabhupada books, what he tried to given to us and what these guys are doing?
Srila Prabhupada explained the principle of Asha Prayoga. This principle states that whatever the Acharya does should not be tampered with. And Srila Prabhupada gave the example himself of his own spiritual master's book, Brahma Samhita, which he asked the BBT to print. While they were getting the book ready to print, the BBT editors came to him with many questions. And they wanted to change this and change that because, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's language is very lofty, is very high class English. And to the common man, it may be difficult to understand. So they wanted to change so many things. But Prabhupada was very firm. And he said, you cannot change even one comma. And he gave the principle of Arsha Prayoga, that whatever the Acharya does cannot be changed. In Srila Prabhupada's own first canto, Prabhupada has written that even if there's some fault by material standards and the presentation of the book, still it will be accepted by the people and it cannot be changed. Prabhupada allowed some editing to go on while he was personally present, but he was not in favor of changes. When he found changes were being made to books, not even just in the writing, but even in changing in the paintings in the books, he would become very upset. He did not want any changes to be made. So personally, I would agree that it is not Krishna conscious activity, it is sinful activity. But there are some things that we cannot or may not be able to influence at this point in time at any rate. So what we need to do is solidify our Krishna consciousness, become strong in our Krishna consciousness, become strong ourselves in Prabhupada's books. If enough devotees on a grassroots level become strong in Srila Prabhupada's purports, eventually there will be change. Eventually, we will see that dynamic Krishna consciousness reappear rather than muted or almost Hindu activities. But we need to focus on the positive aspect of enriching our own Krishna consciousness. There's not much point simply to, spend all the time and energy thinking this one, this one, that. We have to think, how can we protect our devotional kripa and how can we advance Krishna consciousness? What can we do for Srila Prabhupada? And all that boils down to us reading and assimilating and very scrutinizingly studying Srila Prabhupada's purports.
But Prabhu, I do have also one more question. Okay, I believe that we have to be solidified within our Krishna consciousness. That's exactly 100% true. I do also believe very true. But when there are a lot of new devotees or new people who more and more attracted with ISKCON and its principle on the movement, so for them, when they start going with these books, do you think their basics and the foundations will be clear? I know a lot of people. 1 year before, I'll tell you, Prabhu, there is nothing to be, hide. Just wait. Okay. But I'll tell you, there are a lot of devotees even in ISKCON. When I landed in this country, okay, after seeing, after coming me, I saw them, they are coming into the temple and now today they become a devotee. They taken the second initiation, first initiation. They don't know have achar. They don't know have the vichar. And they just start reading the books and everything. So for them, then they try to, the people who had supported them to those roads, now they are giving knowledge to those peoples. They try to putting Prabhupada in so many ways. Or Prabhupada had said it there was Prabhupada had they said, but they don't know exactly what is the principles going on. Okay.
This is why I'm saying, Prabhu, that there are things that you cannot influence. There are things that you cannot change.
Yeah.
So why worry about it? You need to be aware. You need to be aware of these things, but you need to become strong in Krishna consciousness yourself.
Yeah.
So, by your personal example, by displaying Prabhupada's purports, by your personal example, you can help others.
Yeah.
You may not be able to convince somebody else who is following some authority, but you can set the example by your own practice of Krishna consciousness, and for that you need to become strong in Prabhupada's purport.
And I'm very much sorry to say, Prabhu, but this is what going in currently in ISKCON Auckland. First, the biggest problem with the color festival. Second, you himself told that Navaratri festival. Where does the ISKCON Auckland right now going to be stand? Apart from all other ISKCON, I've been there in this movement some around 18 years. But I've been went to all the part of the ISKCON temples and if we see, but that much the destruction where we had come to and an end of the level to we get ourselves fall down, taking Navaratri and doing Bollywood. I mean, still nobody is there to be Prabhu protest, or nobody dare to be say. And if we say these things, no, if Prabhupada had said everything to be put into the Krishna consciousness, so tomorrow we will go with the knife and help somebody else, and then we say Prabhupada said it is good for the Krishna consciousness. If you're not listening, no worries, we put. So now then what to do, Prabhu? How do we get the real association? How do we get?
It is a fact.
Yeah.
But the only remedy is Prabhupada's books. That is the only remedy. The reason why all these things are happening is because the foundation of Krishna consciousness has been eroded. Because it has been eroded, therefore all these things will happen, and perhaps other things may also happen in the future. Therefore, we need a base of devotees who actually take shelter of Prabhupada's books and will be able to present Krishna consciousness as described and practiced by Srila Prabhupada. Without this, simply protesting is not going to achieve anything. We need to become strong in Srila Prabhupada's books. We need to understand Srila Prabhupada's purports. We need to practice Srila Prabhupada's purports. There must be a base of devotees who will do this. Prabhupada explained that these books will be the law books for mankind for 10,000 years. So this is going to happen. All these small things that are going on now are aberrations happening because the foundation has been eroded. So we need to rebuild that foundation. Simply by, making a complaint about this or about that, okay, you might get something out there, but much is going to change. Even if that stops, something else will crop up. Why? Because the foundation has been eroded. So that foundation needs to be rebuilt. So we must get a collective of devotees who are actually sincerely interested in Krishna consciousness as preached and practiced by Prabhupada, and rebuild that foundation. That is the only way to move the movement forward. Otherwise, it's not possible. We have to go back to the basics. The basics is, Prabhupada explained, books are the basis. So we must go back there. Otherwise, you cannot really achieve very much.
Can you please correct me, Prabhuji, if you don't mind, if I'll ask you one more question. The books which been edited or written by Prabhupada is still available? Because there are a lot of devotees who are chasing to me, and like Mahanishinga Prabhu, he told me that I need the edition. I think 1971 the edition, so that he can print out. As you had given the Nectar of Devotion, this is the book which I was looking for the last couple of months. Okay, and he was also chasing. Okay, also one more thing is that, Prabhu, because those, they are not devotees. Those, they are no devotees whom I had distribute the books few days before they complained. The books had been come all over from the China, and they're not relying that what the material in the Bhagavad Gita are that much the pure things. Well, or maybe somebody had extracted the hidden points or the valid points, and they're distributing the books. So can we get those books very quickly?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
If you want books, you can contact me, or you can contact Ambarish Prabhu.
Yeah, because
all the books are available, Prabhu. All the books are available. So Srimad Bhagavatam sets will be here by January. We have Chaitanya Charitamrita now. We have Nectar of Devotion. We have Bhagavad Gita. We have Krishna books.
Yes.
All these books are available.
Okay.
Abhiram Prabhuji, our team here who are with us, regularly in our programs, they have got all books, and we get all references. So we we distribute those as well, and we understand what is the current books being sold as well, and the original books as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you want those books, Radhikatma Prabhu yourself, you can contact him directly. I don't mind here on this.
Sure, Prabhu.
We'll be placing some orders as well online. So it's through him only, and so no problem at all. You know him, you can approach him directly.
No worries, Prabhuji. Definitely. Definitely I'll do. Yeah, because I don't want, when we are distributing Srila Prabhupada books, I mean, when there is a label, or when there is been written Srila Prabhupada books, so people shouldn't come back with this feedback. People should come back with us. We record more and more books, Prabhu. You know, that's the thing, which I got an experience recently, Prabhu. When I went to Napier, there I got some experience. Then they called me suddenly, and this is what the thing, Prabhu. So, anyhow, thanks very much, Prabhuji, for giving us this facility to have Srila Prabhupada's actual books to begin. And thanks very much, Radhikatma Prabhuji, once again to explain us in such a nice way. And wish you all a very happy Diwali and Govardhan Puja. Thanks.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So, thank you very much, Radhikatma Prabhu, for your nice and enlightening, insightful, and honest class. The devotees with our team, they are quite well aware about these points, but it is very nice when it has been spoken frankly and given from the perspective of some senior Vaishnavas. It's coming from that perspective as well. So now, anyone else would you like to ask any questions? Please feel free. I know we've got some new devotees as well who may need to clear up some conceptions about what is the difference between Vaishnavism and Hinduism and all that, those points. So I'm sure the counselors and you can get in touch with them to get those clarity. Of course, I'm happy to discuss that point in the next program because we've got step-by-step discussion on this. But please, we'll leave this question a few minutes open. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept my
Krishna.
humble pranam. Prabhu, do you have right now the old version of Bhagavad Gita?
Radhikatma Prabhu, he's a new devotee, budding devotee. He's from India. He's an engineering student, and he's under the shelter of one of our counselors, Avinash Krishna Prabhu. So we've not exposed them about this book changes and all those things. So he would be also given those opportunities whenever, as and when they come to that level to understand what things are. Although when we teach them from the original books.
Right.
They don't know because online the original books are available. So we don't sort of mix them at the moment. They're budding, they're enthusiastic. So we bring them the original. They don't understand what is Veda based, what is Prabhupada or Prabhupada books and all those things. So we very cunningly and very politely manage them. The small creeper, young creeper. Okay, your question, please. Parth, sorry.
Prabhu, like I have two versions of Bhagavad Gita right opened in front of me. Like Bhagavad, you can also open, I guess, Bhagavad Gita 2.20, the shlok number, if you can.
Yes, we know the shloka.
Yeah, sorry. So my confusion is, Prabhu, that in the old version the translation is, for the soul there is never birth nor death, nor having once been does he ever cease to be, right? This is like in the old Bhagavad Gita. But in the new Bhagavad Gita, it is, for the soul there is neither birth nor death. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. So Prabhu, what is what is correct? Because both are radically different. One is saying that the soul comes into being, and one is saying that the soul does not ever come into being. So philosophically, if you want to understand which version is correct, Prabhu, like, because in previous chapter, in this chapter only, previously Krishna says that the soul, there was never a time that I did not exist, you did not exist, nor these kings did not exist. So Prabhu, which version is right? How do we comprehend this fact?
Prabhu, the 1972 version of Bhagavad Gita, the original version, that is the correct version. This is the book that Prabhupada himself spoke from. So whatever is written in the book, Prabhupada accepted. Whatever additions his editors may have made, he accepted. But Prabhupada didn't have a problem speaking from this book. Not only he spoke from this book, he also distributed this book himself to many scholars. When Prabhupada would be meeting with scholars, he would always have one devotee with Bhagavad Gita present. And very often in the discussion, if you read Prabhupada's conversations online, you'll find that very often Prabhupada would tell the devotee, look up such and such verse, look up such and such purport, and have them read it aloud to the distinguished guests. So whatever verse or purport you're reading, the 1972 version is the correct version.
Okay, Prabhu. But like, I mean, my confusion was there because it kind of, I thought apparently it did contradict itself, because in the previous shlokas it is saying the soul does not come into being because,
It does
and now,
contradict itself.
yeah,
It does contradict
that
itself.
is what I was confusing.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does contradict itself. And that's what happens when you try to be over intelligent. You try to be over intelligent and try to over edit the Acharya's words. Then you end up in a situation where things start contradicting each other, and you miss subtle points that the Acharya is making, and you miss the flavor of the Acharya's words as well. And you end up with a whole new book. That's why there are almost 5,000 changes in that new book, because of editing of this sort, which ends up being confusing, yes. But if you just stick to Prabhupada's original book, then you will understand the philosophy and you will not have any confusion.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Because even I think this particular verse was taken as a reference when the GBCs actually explained that the editing was needed, because they say that the soul never comes into being. So here it is saying once being, so he say it never comes into being, and here it say this comes into being. So that's why they had said that there is a need for this editing. I remember there's a video on this,
Yeah.
So for newer devotees, for Parth, I think you gave a very nice answer. Thank you for that, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
At least they can focus upon this, and slowly, as they grow in their bhakti, when they become serious, then the counselor Avinash Krishna will introduce them to these few things, so they can be very pointed in their study and understanding of Prabhupada. Because I firmly believe that Srila Prabhupada started this movement single-handedly. We are all here because of Srila Prabhupada, and of course, so many devotees helped us to become devotees. And the biggest loyalty for us lies with Srila Prabhupada.
Yes.
I think that's what came from your class today. And it is very nice that when senior devotees speak openly about this, and upfront we can raise this head on. When people are queries, many of them don't like to speak for whatever reason, or not like to ask. I would like, whenever people come in contact with our program, we give them all options. And thank you that you have spoken in this subject matter very boldly. So in the very first step, they can know what's going on, and they can be guided very nicely. Thank you for that, and thank you, Parth, for your questions. Abhiram Prabhu as well. Thank you. Is there any other? Please, you can feel free. We've got still a couple of minutes. If you have any questions, please feel free.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I do got one more question right now. Keep in my mind. Okay, if you don't mind, can I ask you?
Yeah.
Prabhu, as it says, Srila Prabhupada, I don't know, as it says, it's a simple, basic question. Well, a lot of devotees, when we have a conversation, particularly the new devotees, or whatever they says, whatever you have, you just put everything for Krishna, just offer to the Krishna, whatever you have, whatever you do, just offer to the Krishna. So, I mean, can you just explain more scrutinizingly what is to be understand about that point? Because I'm not, convinced with that point, that whatever we have, whatever we do, or whatever we will be doing must go for the Krishna. So, I mean, the act of the deeds, act of our work, whether it is a good or bad, that we have to go to, we have to put everything to the Krishna. How does it mix? Because I saw there are a lot. I'm not blaming. I'm not blaming, first of all, Prabhu, to nobody, but it is what it is. I saw a lot of devotees, which when I joined, in this movement, we were not like that. Like you says that when you joined in this movement, there are a lot of decent devotees. Okay, but today I saw a lot of things which had been changed. And they do whatever they think, and they have a very nice statement. Srila Prabhupada says, whatever you have or whatever you're doing, you do for the Krishna. But do you think that does Krishna really going to be accept those things?
Well, Prabhu, I'm not really sure what you're referring to. I mean, that is Krishna consciousness, to utilize whatever you have in Krishna's service. You may
Okay.
have some talent, you may have some assets, you may have some abilities. You can use all that in Krishna's service.
Okay. And if somebody do some any kind of a nonsensical activities, and then he's not ready to agree that he's doing wrong, but he's still saying that, this will be also utilized for Krishna consciousness. Okay. So do you agree with that point?
Well, you're not supposed to do nonsense in Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, that is what my point. That is what my point. Doing Bollywood songs, and now when they argue with us, no, that will be getting our money, and we have to make the hall.
Well, you see,
And
it all depends. You have, like I said, you have to sharpen your intelligence with Krishna consciousness, with Prabhupada's purports. I mean, in some circumstance, with some groups, with some budding devotees, maybe they can use Bollywood in Krishna service to attract other people of like-minded. But then, in the temple environment, you have to use your intelligence. Is it suitable for temple environment? But that
I don't
doesn't
think
mean that you can't use it in some form, in some place, at some time, to attract some type of people, according to your level of Krishna consciousness. Of course, Srila Prabhupada, he gave us a specific method of executing Krishna consciousness and attracting people. Prabhupada told us to go on Harinam, to distribute books, to have morning class and evening class. And this is, and he also gave us the idea to celebrate many, many festivals. But he didn't want loose activities. He didn't want compromising activities. And in this regard, I'm speaking about the initiated devotees, the devotees who serve in the temple, who serve the temple. But in respect to, friends of devotees who are engaging in these type of activities, they may be able to use some of these activities in the service of Krishna to the level of their Krishna consciousness. But if you sharpen your intelligence with Prabhupada's purports, then it becomes abundantly clear that such activities are not suitable in the temple environment or to be performed by serious initiated devotees.
Yep. Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Thanks very much. Thanks very much. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So with this now, I hope you have any other questions. I think I can wait for a few more seconds. If you have any other questions, please.
Prabhuji, I just want to add something. It's a very nice nectar. It's Grace Radhikatma Prabhu. That's great. Thanks, Prabhuji. As I said, because in Krishna consciousness, when the people come, when you take the Krishna consciousness, there's a different level you can see. Always, Prabhupada, you have to bring this Krishna consciousness at the Shuddha Sattva. That means you have to bring in elevate ourselves in Uttamadhikari level. That means that mood. When you come to that level like a Kanishta and Madhyama and Uttama, then the purity of Krishna consciousness, we don't bother about what is going on. As I said, we have to solidify our conscious. This is very important for us, because if the people still they entangle with those passion and ignorance mood, they're still living in that Kanishtadhikari level. That means we have to show the examples ourselves. This is very important for us, because in Kali Yuga, this is happening anyway, any part of the world, and also we can see, but we have to be right association, right mood, and right people. Then we can change ourselves first. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu, that's correct, 100%. And out of all that, we have to realize that the main person that we need to associate with is Srila Prabhupada. And we get that association in his Vani, in his purports.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Sorry,
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you very much for your nice class, Prabhuji. I just wanted to also say just one realization that it is so important that you've stressed the importance of reading Srila Prabhupada's books. And I feel that for every problem that a person may have, it's the best solution. So I totally agree with that. Instead of going here and there looking for solutions, you could just open Srila Prabhupada's original books and read them and get so much information in there, how you can deal with your day-to-day difficulties. So thank you very much, Prabhuji.
You're 100% correct, Mataji. We don't need actually anything else. We don't need anything else. We just need Prabhupada. And
Yes,
we can access Prabhupada 100% through his purports. As long as we can get hold of an original book, and we can access Prabhupada 100%, even though we may never have had Prabhupada's personal association, we
Yeah.
can associate with Prabhupada constantly throughout the day and night just by reading his purports.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Radhikatma, for your wonderful association. Thank you very much for insightful discussions and frank discussion. I don't like hypocrisy, as you know.
Yeah.
And that is what we achieved today. And I'm sure devotees who are with us for long and devotees who are new with us would appreciate this non-hypocritic discussion, so that those people who are new, they can understand what they're getting into with their eyes open. And those who are existing and who studied, they can also know what is the truth, how and where do they want to go. The choice is up to us, as you correctly put it, And what came out for me in this discussion is that for even association, for even solving any problems in your life, and third thing, to become successful in bhakti, we have been given this royal road by Srila Prabhupada in his books. We just study it, simple as that, and scrutinizingly studied, as you say. So that's it. Chant Hare Krishna and become happy.
Prabhupada always said that our process is very simple.
Yes.
It's very simple. We tend to make it so complicated. Deviating and always thinking that something else must be better. If we just stick to this simple process that Prabhupada has given us,
yes,
we will all be so happy in Krishna consciousness, and we'll be able to make a difference in so many devotees' lives and so many non-devotees' lives.
Yes, that's right. That's right. So nice. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
We'll conclude our first session today with this point. And Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. So don't go away. Now we'll have a short kirtan with Krishna Swarupa Krishna.